All right, we're live. Thank you very much for watching the VOD. Appreciate that people do. Super cool of you. And you guys are really patient because I know I am terrible at getting the VODs up in time. I don't think that's ever going to change. I'm finally going to admit to it today. Probably never going to change. So, appreciate your patience. Thank you if you've subscribed. Always nice to see that number go up along with our other numbers. So yeah, man. What was last weekend? Yeah, last weekend was stress test, right? We had stress test last weekend, and then we've got our play test coming up weekend after that. Not this coming weekend, the weekend after. So, right around the corner. Alright, let's dump some caffeine into it. Cinnamon pears. The last of the winter edition. Hey, Sarenth. You're first. Good job. Oh shit, green screen's probably right on. It's been like a whole few days since I streamed. Forgot how to do it. So we have a naked NPC problem right now that right before I came in was being addressed. How was your weekend, Sarenth? Yeah, let's go see. Let's see who's naked. Not this guy. He's not naked. Oh, hey. Badass. I mean, she's a bit naked. But it's cool that she's here. Good job. First put in some new Bard NPCs. Man, the critters are really loud right now. Sojourner, not naked. Halrin, no pants. It's kind of random. Hey Fielder, Thulan, Chili Sauce, Chastolo, Olo, Inferish, Quixana, Lasava, Defiant Possum, Talet, Thefrock. Did the notification just hit or something? Yeah, so first, his got in some new performers and stuff. Thefrock. What is that? Oh, it's a pizza. Awesome. All animated and stuff. You complained at 11:02 that I wasn't streaming. Notification went out at 11:03. Yeah, then yeah, 11:02 I started streaming, I think. For you. For me it was 8:00. Are you guys naked? You're naked. Yeah, we have a naked NPC issue right now, if you didn't know. What's up, Chinny D? It is the nudist server. Hey, I'm gonna kick this off with a question. Issues? There's no issue here. Special rule set server. On that topic, Chinny D. You're one of the more in character people I think of sort of straight out of the gate. Like, you know, these days when if I think of goblins, I think of goblin, I think of you. Sometimes not in that order, so, but don't tell goblin. And so I'm very curious if you, so say we have our new sort of non-traditional RP server that, I mean, you know, the truth is we're aiming it at people that might be interested to streaming and then RPing in game, blah blah blah. But like RP, when you guys start talking about voices and what's a goblin supposed to sound like, it can sound like anything you want, right? Like I think sometimes when we talk about, well, it's easier to do the setting of GTA 5 because it's just people. I don't see a problem with, you know, if someone just wants to sound like a people but they're a goblin, okay. The whole point would be seeing how people kind of react to that and go along with it. So anyway, well, some goblins will have distinguished British accents. Some goblins will probably sound like me or whatever. Yeah, I'd be curious to see someone like you, Chinny D. And I'm trying to, you know, are there other people that have been super in character in their streams and stuff? What's up, Simon? Who else came in that I haven't said hi to yet? G Willikers, Buckhold, Mondus. What's going on, guys? Shamroar. Tuanin says, I think that EQ2's origin servers launched today. You want to go and check it out? Not I. What's up, Migs? Kitty Rumble. Zone fallen pets. Yeah. Jasmine's laptop's still being goofy, so let me get her into mine. I mean, you should have all the passwords, Jasmine. Hold on 1 second. I don't know why, but it just restarted. Laptops are all garbage, apparently. What's our agenda today? So I'll probably play in a few minutes, but I wanted to come look at a couple of things since I've been doing a lot of lore work and discussion in this zone. Could be. My mom, actually, she was never able to wear electric watches, digital watches. And she had problems with certain electronics. It would just stop working whenever she was done. Just hard restart it, please, babe. Need a healer right now, and unfortunately no. Defiant Possum asks, do you care if we start making maps of places like Night Harbor, or would you prefer we left some mystery? At the end of the day, we can't stop you. So I think it's fine, and it'll be interesting to see how your maps evolve over time. Fielder said it's your magnetic personality, babe. Wait, how do you know my wife? Chinny said, not really many others I've noticed. It's also hard sometimes to be too goblin-y based on a group I'm able to find or get together, but I think that'll change for early access. You mean just in presentation, or? Hey, Hermit Craig. The zone's already got the new music in it. Hey, Kinji. Simon. It's funny. Thanks for recommending or sending that one link over. It's weird. We live in Germany, but we haven't, I really haven't been looking at that dude's website. Yeah, I was just looking at the reviews on I think it's the SSG 96 Mark II. Their sniper rifle. That looks fun. Did the gnomes somehow get older? No, I think they mostly look like this. I think people are still filling out the world and not setting into roles. Not everyone RPs anyway. Also, some of the races are more RP friendly. I don't know a lot of the lore. Thulon, yeah, it's fair. Hey, Darius. Sephirox says, I've been finding people are role-playing the race a bit more in M&M already versus other games. I think each is so distinct if it's fantasy that people are acting as such. Yeah, it definitely helps, right? Random bug. There's a big lake up here, so the volume comes across at the moment. So you pop into the volume. Are we still talking about role-playing? Yes, we're talking about role-playing, Nick. I started it, though. I started it. I think some people are going to do specific things with their limited time on the servers. I've got quite a few don't have time for type of responses. Oh, you mean you've got help me understand that line. Are you saying you don't have time for, which is understandable, or are you saying when you talk to people, they're saying they don't have time? What's up, Brex? Your one, Darius says, I for one am on board for the VOIPRP. It's such a mouthful. As long as you don't have to show your face. No, you don't have to. There's no, that's definitely not a rule. Hey, Drew. That'd be a fun spell effect. Spawns a water volume that sticks to the character. It just drowns them in play wherever they go. They're just surrounded by a water bubble, and it's visible. And then they're in there, they're swimming, but they're also drowning. Wait, do you say the letters in VOIP and not just a single word? Urban Artifact Beer, unlike ASAP and other shit like that, I really haven't had much need to say VOIP out loud, so how do you say it? Do you say VOOP? Give me the phonetics on that so I can stop being VoIP? You say VoIP? Am I saying it the way you say it? Do you say VoIP? Is that correct? That's how you say it, VoIP. Don't do that ever again. That's stupid. All of you should change. Stop being dumb. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm the dumb one, not you. This whole time I've been saying VoIP instead of VoIP. Oh, I'm so lame. Such a boomer. Is that a boomer thing? Stop being dumb. Am I talking to your wife? Oh, is she watching? She doesn't watch this, right? Scaffstone? Because you wouldn't be saying it if she watched it. I'm gonna find her. I'm gonna tell her you said that. Stop changing things. It's making me angry as a boomer thing. I think I've tried to get past that. Does he say SQL? I always said sequel, and then I realized, like, someone told me that I was saying it wrong. And it's like, it's SQL. And I was like, really? Oh, maybe oh no, I took a SQL course, and then I realized that it was SQL. Do you hate that people say sequel? Well, I hate VoIP. So I think we have a problem, Nigs. Yep. Me and Long Dong here. At least you say Dayak and Lucklin correctly. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Nick HOTS. It's Kinos. No worries, Chinny. No worries. Chinny said to the question 45 minutes ago. Feels like a lot of people don't have time. Once you get out of the newbie yard, you get a lot of responses. They don't have time because they're only on for so long. I'm just messing with you, Trini. Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, but it seems like there's dudes everywhere that, I mean, you've got a crew everywhere. Only goblins is well represented. I was actually surprised to see other guilds during the stress test. Hey, Encrypt. Dulan said I always spelled out DAOC. Never heard anyone say it like a word like until Sean. I mean, that's just from the time it came out. We always called it Dayak, so I never even considered that you wouldn't say it, to be honest. SWG is swig. You got sweater. Got another water issue over here, but see if I can maybe probably just gonna be easier to feel this out in the editor. So I was thinking about it a lot earlier today. This is gonna wind up being a cool little area. Well, that was a neat effect right there. There's some of this weird, like, artifacty, buggy stuff that when it happens, like, oh, that'd be a cool effect. And EQ2 to voice acting says Looselin. But I always thought it was Lucklin. Yeah, the thing with the voice acting is I don't know if they're 100% correct. It's a whole, like, there's a whole role in trying to get the voice actors to say shit the right way. Are we going to get an M&M pronunciation guide? We have one internally. We don't keep it up to date, but we do have one internally. But we may not ever tell you exactly. Like, we won't publish it, I don't think. Because part of the fun is just you guys screwing up the name. Then again, if we did publish it, it's a thing that people would have to read, so there'd probably still only be about 10% of you that actually know the pronunciation. That's not a dig. That's not me picking on you. That's just the reality of things. The Silmarillion of M&M. It's more like the starter guide of M&M. We have a starter guide that people don't read, so I think a pronunciation guide is really pushing our luck. I thought this went up. Why does this not go up further? Am I just walking in circles and confusing myself? I thought this went up. The downside of releasing it, the inevitable. Actually, it's pronounced. I don't know that releasing or not releasing it is going to change that. Keep my right shoulder on the wall and we'll eventually figure this place out. Hey, Nicodemus. The RuneScape city Adragoon is pronounced Adragoon to you. You don't care? What's it supposed to be pronounced like? Adranouge? As an American, I reserve the right to pronounce everything the wrong way. You don't know and you don't care. That's what I like to hear. Hey, Justin Beard. 3 p.m. your time would be 9 p.m. my time, so you're off by an hour. It's Aetherill. Aetherill. How'd the stress test go? What was his nickname, Nick? Because I'm not going to read that out. Didn't he have a nickname? Bob. Lord Bob. How did the stress test go? It was way at the time, couldn't join. Mig said it went really well. We've still got work to do on that front. The honest truth on that one going into the playtest is it's not, unless something's changed, it's not where we want it to be ultimately. But there are only so many things that we want to change before the playtest and potentially incur more risk in trying to fix some of the stuff that we're seeing. So playtest ultimately is not going to be perfect in terms of the performance that we're looking for. Should be relatively stable. We weren't really seeing stability problems, but we are seeing some issues with like positional updates and some other stuff. But we'll be updating our playtest information soon to make sure that we've stated what we're seeing on our end, what you should expect, and what we're doing to mitigate it. We'll have more servers available than the stress test, and we'll see if we get you guys distributed well, if everything can run pretty good. Does the amount of mobs in Night Harbor have an impact on the lag when player count goes up? Worm's Bane seems super fast. The number of people in Night Harbor, to the best of my knowledge, it's this point it's just the number of people in Night Harbor. But I may not be explaining it as thoroughly or precisely as I could. I should have debriefed before coming on stream, but Ollie's been traveling, and I just didn't think to ask for like a concise update. I've gotten so used to him and other team members being in here and them just kind of hopping on the topic. So. If I had to guess, the number of entities in Night Harbor doesn't help things. Is each zone a different server, or is it just like shared resources for the whole server? Each zone is part of one server, and then we have multiple servers. Chili sauce, I'm not sure. Nope, it's not rendering. It's not a rendering issue, Justin Beard. I mean, there are other implications there, but yeah. So we got a good amount of data. The tech guys have been working on things. They worked on stuff that's changes or fixes that we'll see in the playtest coming up, but there are additional things that we know of, want to do, but don't want to do before this playtest, if that makes sense. Because like today is the day that we're supposed to be locking down the build, so that we can just kind of look at it over the next week and change. And if we see anything critical, then we can fix it. But we really want to go into it with as the build being as known of a quantity as possible, so that we can point to, hey, we know this is broken. We're not fixing it for the playtest. On the other, on the other hand, like, well, I think that's the main thing, right? Like, where we found this big thing and we can just focus on that, get it in, test it, and know that nothing weird's going to happen because of the fix on the 28th. What's up, Dark Inside? Rhythm, thank you for the follow. And on the data front, we've got a new team member that will be interesting on this. I'll get a better sort of write up on kind of background and what he's going to be working on, but he's definitely going to be helping us on the data side in terms of being able to set up monitoring and really dig into all of the data that we have, both on the tech side, like performance data on the tech side, all the way through design related data and player behavior data and all that stuff. So that's pretty cool. Defiant Possum says, do you guys have a plan on bind points? Will it be zone-based or more specific locations? And will casters have more options than classes that have to ask for a bind? We haven't talked to it in we haven't talked about it in great detail. I think we've got the kind of default. Well, actually, anybody can get bound anywhere at the moment, right, Nick? It's an interesting one to discuss because there are some different implications with regards to the decision there and the impact on gameplay, but we haven't discussed it in great detail anytime recently. Years ago, we talked about some different ideas, if I'm not mistaken, but. G-Bulliker said, Robot in the Far Future, what would you guys do if Asmongold played the game and you guys got 1 billion players at once? Oddly, you want to hear something? And it's not like, it's not, hopefully it doesn't seem like hubris. It's not meant as it was a thought exercise. I was actually thinking about this over lunch, I think. I think maybe because like a Coke, Asmon reacting to a Co-Carnage video came on. And, yeah, well, Encrypt's correct. We know that this isn't the game for Asmon, right? But the idea that no matter what he says, a certain percentage of his people might come and check it out or whatever is there. So there was this idea, or sorry, I was thinking through the notion of what happened if we got X number of players. And that is something that we'll be talking about more and more as we head towards early access. Because, yeah, it is one of those weird things where success can kind of be a pain in the ass. Right, but it's mainly on, you know, there's the brute force way of dealing with it, which is just keep spinning up more servers. But there are absolutely some longer term implications that are immediately come to mind in doing that. So that said, in a worst case scenario, so there's like the worst case negative scenario, which is we go into early access and we have, you know, basically however many people. We have 90 people, and that's our subscriber base. And then after a month, we've got 15 people. That's like the worst case example on the kind of the shit side of this, you know, the dookie end of the stick. On the flip side, the worst case of a successful like launch would be, you know, all of a sudden we've got like 1 million subs. But we could probably brute force that. It would be unstable and crappy for a few days. We brute force it. And if we got $15 from 1 million people, no, if we got $15 from 500,000 people and they all quit after 1 month, we'd still be in a good position financially to sit down and fucking continue to make the game that we want to make. That would be that. Everybody could just quit and then come back in a year or two and enjoy the game. Would you ever consider changing your world design in context of EA launch to add more starting cities to distribute player load? It's not logistically possible. If we could just make starting cities, we would make starting cities. We don't have the throughput to do starting cities, and here's why. Like, let's bring out a drawing tool. Because it's one of those ones that's come up in the past, and sometimes it doesn't register for people, I think. But so say we've got our zones, right? kind of say, just this is a very streamlined version of our setup. You know, it's missing a few things or whatever, but let's just say this is roughly it. When people draw into scale, this is the actual map that we've been using to design the whole game, correct? So if we wanted to add a bunch of starting cities, and we'll go into other details as to why that's not easy to do. Let's say we want to add a bunch of starting cities so that we can distribute the player base. Well, if we just add the starting cities, then sure, we've got new newbie yards, but we still only have these zones that they can go to afterwards, right? So let's just say we stick them around here. They still have to basically converge on the same content, right? So that gives us a few more starting points. But now the problems that we run into is, one, as you guys have noticed, I don't know if you've noticed, maybe you've noticed, we got these zones. They're kind of, we've got some brown zones, right? So because it's a desert region that we started with, and then eventually we'll have Califrey up here, and we'll start to get some green zones. But we're not even looking at final textures in the desert zones yet. And so every, you know, sand needs a texture, rock needs a texture. Probably need more than one rock texture depending on what we're using it for. The various architectures got, right? So everything's there's a texture set that comes along with the theme. Right? So we've got one theme here, which is our nice brown desert theme. And the props that go in here, we've got, you know, the cacti, all the sorts of shit, right? So we've got a bunch of stuff that goes in here that's part of this theme. So those are all assets that we have to create. So by sticking with a theme and getting a certain amount of a world out of that, we're reusing assets and then, and basically milking that for as much as we can. Now, there are assets that we're building, like a cart or a barrel or whatever, that we can then use, you know, over here as well, right? So we get some nice reuse and we start to build up a library. But if we were to say, all right, we want to do 3 more starting cities, well, then we probably want them to be 3 new sub-themes, right? So now we've got to create all the unique assets for that. Is this one, you know, is it swamp? Right? Is this, what is this? Is this ice? Little Hallis or whatever? Is it deep elves? Right? So as soon as we do that, we've got to create a bunch of assets anyways. So the second we create that asset set, we probably want to go ahead and we want to make some more zones using those assets, right? Because we get reused. We can start to stretch that out. So each time we make one of these themes, oops. Right, so when we make a new racial city, there's a bunch of shit that's going to go along with it to make it feel right that we then get to reuse, right? And so that's why we're going for the initial launch, desert, then we're going to Califrey, which is more temperate and forest, and then for the first expansion we're doing a deep themed, you know, the first module, the first big update will be deep themed. So, and then we want to look at, like, all right, there's the idea of just making the assets, but once you got the assets, like, what kind of world feels like this, right? So if we basically, if everything's just connected to these couple of sandy / temperate zones, just immediately plugs in, even if we've got the sub themes, then our world sense isn't there, right? So it's off. Is every starting city planned to have the scope similar to Night Harbor? Nope. Night Harbor is just meant to be, first of all, we knew that we'd be in a situation where it's our first city and needs to carry a pretty heavy load relative to other cities. So it's going to be a bit bigger. Well, a fair bit bigger. And then we're looking at the idea of there being, some cities, maybe not many, maybe only one or two, that are really adventure cities as well, so they're playable. One of our goals is to make it so that in theory you could play in Night Harbor and not leave and level all the way to max level, doing adventure shit. So so don't look at Night Harbor as like, oh, that's the reason why. Now, if we somehow like click our fingers and we have the ability to, I think, do Night Harbor a bit more efficiently, since we've learned a lot from it, and we have the resources and the time and all that shit, would we potentially blow out some of the other cities and make them interesting as well? Maybe, but the idea that we've discussed is leave the potential for that, but not do it, right? So like if you look at a fun zone like a Nariak, so if you got Nariak A, B, and C, then that idea of already building in the idea, like the ability to have it be D, E, F, whatever, have that turn into adventure areas and stuff over time, and maybe include those in later updates. Then I think that's cool. But no, we're not going to bite off the same amount with every city that we bit off with Night Harbor. So are we tracking so far? Like we've got a world map. We've got a list of all of the zones that we think would make for an interesting world. Over time, we'll probably continue to trim those zones off, right? It'll be a smaller world map than we currently have in place, but it gives us a decent starting point. But we do want there to be that like sense of going from Night Harbor all the way over to East Tim and having it be a pretty decent adventure, right? So Justin Beard says, I have to keep reminding myself that NH is Night Harbor and not New Hampshire. Nick said, who said it isn't? We're basing our game off of real world examples. New Hampshire. The desert outside of New Hampshire is definitely Zur. And one of the things that we talked about, Hales Lurker, I'll always say Lurker instead of Luker. Hales Lurker mentioned, fun example, I'm in 3rd gate killing ghouls. Over time, over the years, we want to come back in and add more content into the existing world, not just keep expanding it out. All right, so that's where we have the opportunity then to come in and do, this zone, that adventure zone that's attached to one of the cities, for example. Keep walking around a lake, imagining a happening town and a big wall to keep the scary things away, like Misty Thicket. And you can be a lurker for me? Thank you. What was the show? Joke and TV shows just add sepia tone to make it feel like you're in Mexico. Was that after Traffic? Didn't Traffic pioneer that? Monda said, I like having variation in city size, like how Agak was pretty backwater. Yeah. I think we've got a lot of opportunity to do variety there based off of, like you said, based off of just the vibe that we're trying to create. But then always leave the hooks to be leave the hooks there to be able to expand it later. Okay, so does this beautiful map kind of explain why we don't just go try to fix it by adding additional racial cities? It's a non-starter. So we've got to be a little more creative than that. You know, if we find that Night Harbor is, if we've got too many entities and that's causing problems or whatever, the sphere of influence isn't working to mitigate that or that kind of shit. It's a big enough zone that we can split it into multiple zones if we need to, right? So that's one thing that we can do. But every time that's come up, Ollie's basically said that he thinks we'll be able to get some solutions in place to not require that. This map is canon now. Have fun with it. You can put it wherever you'd like. You can stick this map wherever makes you happiest. With the plans for the deep to be the first module, will the deep races be starting there, or will they start in Night Harbor once they're added to the game? There'll be opportunities for both, but I cannot promise you that it will be all deep races. That is a question for Zukin and the character guys. Imagine seeing the Wood Elf City from zones away. I mean, that's what we've been trying to do with a lot of how we build the zones, like have those nice distant points of interest and stuff. So we'll see what winds up happening there. Oh no, I fell. All right, so let me camp out real quick and start a new character. Since I've had my chance to go look at the thing. What'd you guys end up doing over the weekend? When was the last playtest? Was it Friday and Saturday? You guys want to hear a secret? Let me know if you want to hear a secret. I haven't somebody provided a link to a polling tool that I may use. Oh yeah, I was just showing off the nudie models. Encrypt just made me think of it. Said camp out, you mean Alt F4. Do you want to hear what happened during the playtest stream that I realized like afterwards? I got so used to Alt F4ing to kill my client that I had I clicked over to like mute myself or whatever to talk to the team. And I still had Streamlabs targeted in the middle of the stream. It was like, what, 5 hours in or something like that? And I was like, I looked at the stream, I was like, I'll be right back. And went to kill the client. I just Alt F4'd and just killed the stream. I was like, but I didn't realize what I had done. I was like, boom, boom. Okay, what? The stream just died. What's going on? Client's still here. Okay, let me start the stream. All right. And with all the shit that's happened with like the download and everything else, I was just like, oh no, it just died. Okay, cool. And then I thought about it afterwards. I was like, well, yeah, that was me. That was me doing me shit. Because I was watching, like, I've got you guys up here on this monitor. I'm like, and you guys are like, oh no, what happened? I'm like, what did happen? What do you mean what happened? I looked and it's like Streamlabs isn't up. Well, that's weird. Ah, what a dummy. Was I downloading again during that? Damn. I haven't looked at this guy in a while. I am looking raggedy. That texture looks tight though. the little alphid, the little alphid strands and stuff. Zukin, who did this one? Zach, looks nice. Dude, Stoney's a beast. Lisava said, I was killed by a huge giant in Vale of Zintar. If you want to drag my corpse to his own line, that'd be great. Yeah, Zach stuff's great. Like I said, man. I keep saying we've got a talented team. You guys should give yourselves some credit. Oh, I need to take a screen cap of this sometime soon. I'll do it right now. I'll just take a photo and send it to my dad. Nice work on those buttholes, Zukin. I missed that stream. Do I know which trade skills are most functional in the game? At the moment, Nick, help me out. We've got, because I'm going to screw up the name. Blacksmithing. It's not just blacksmithing. It's is it armor smithing? Blacksmithing. There's some tailoring. Survival, mining, and lumberjacking on the gathering side of things. But we've got like this insane list of trade skills that we eventually want to get in over time. Running out into Shaded Dunes to buy my teleport spell was a perfect amount of nostalgia, danger, and exploration last test, Spelldane said. Where did you have to go? Hey, I don't have no pants on. Oh, this is perfect. Do I gotta... What is that? Is that my beard? I was like, do I have like a little dwarf package hanging down there? Like, can you see my package? Don't look. Jewel crafting and fletching recipe, each as well. It was one of the 3 pyramids south of the Ghoul Obelisk Island. Did you need a component from there in order to get the spell going, or is that where you got your spell? Will armor differentiate for different biomes? Like, this feels very deserty. Sephiroth, yeah, that's the hope at the moment, is that we'll have different regional armors to go along with the variety, or to add to the variety. Item rarity. What's the thought on how rare a particular item can be? Will there be crazy EQ style drops that are 10% name spawns and then 5% spawn chance? Trotsky asked. Even rarer. Jet City, thank you for noticing. I think we've already got some stuff in that's even rare already. And not just numeric rarity. We've got I've mentioned this a number of times. We've got a lot of conditionals, right? So we're already thinking in terms of what are the conditions that need to be in place for this NPC to spawn, right? Is it based on the lunar cycle? Is it, or the simplest would be, is it day night? If you've run into things like Night Terror is, you know, a rare-ish spawn in the newbie yard, then that's day night. We've got conditionals for lunar cycle, weather, item possession should be something that we're able to do, but we'll probably tackle that in another way. I'm going to be implementing, Nick and I have been talking about like triggered spawns for a long time, you know, being able to gather components and then trigger a spawn. Going to be adding one of those into Fallen Pass soon, that is based off of mud interaction. Well, it'll use the mud system to trigger it, but I don't know if it'll actually require mud action. It may just require mud action to get one of the items that you need to have. But our mud action system allows us to easily then have a thing where, like, if you've got these items in your possession, then and you go to a certain place, then it can spawn a thing and it will consume the items out of your inventory, that type of thing. Yeah, it actually is an accidental spawning ritual. Defiant Possum. That's actually what happens. Jet City JT said, can't wait till this game comes out. We're excited, man. New name here, it told me. First time chat. Have you been lurking, or are you just new? Or are you actually new news to the stream? So this is a semi-legit play character. So let me run down and like semi-legit play him with my little bare ass. Summon the devil. Eventually there will be some devil summoning. Different devils. Lurking right on. Guys, can't wait to get you back in. I'm thinking one of the things that we saw with the recent stress test and the play test coming up, one of the reasons why we're able to kind of run into that situation where we get you guys in, we're like, oh shit, something broke in the last 6 months, is because it's been 6 months since we did a play test, right? And you know, I don't want to speak out of turn on the team's behalf, but I do think that's indicative of one of the concerns with not having more regular, even if they're very brief, but more regular play tests, right? Because if you go too long, you introduce something and shit happens, it is very possible to not find stuff until actual players are in, even if we've got great headless clients and bots running around and all that stuff. So hey Quados. Thomason88, thank you for the follow. So it'd be nice to once we're, but the reason why we waited so long is we really wanted to have like a lot of, you know, cool new shit to show you and have it be as polished as possible and all that. And that's the thing, that there's a lot of value in taking that approach, but it can also bite you in the ass a little bit. And I think we're feeling that a little bit with the stress tests and sort of, you know, the issues we're seeing with some of the performance at scale at the moment. So once we get past this play test, hopefully it runs well enough for you guys, and then we'll look at how we want to approach this stuff moving forward. There was a question way back. Way previous topic, when we were talking like what would happen if a shitload of people showed up. That I wanna go back and say, I wanna see what was said, and then Sephiroth had asked something about server hopping with one tune. We really want servers to have their own identity, so we don't want to do that. We don't want to make it too easy to just sort of bounce around. Where was it? I can't find it now. It's not letting me see it. Do you have a detrimental debuff or buff limit? Mordecai asked. I don't think so, but maybe I'm wrong. Nick, do we have a limit on the number of buffs or debuffs that can be applied to you at the moment? We got this big ass buff bar. This whole thing up here. But that's just UI. Hey, Curly Goblin. Theoretically, we do have a limit, which means practically speaking, not really. Nephilim XS said, heard about Imminent from Panth, got on board last playtest, absolutely loves the nostalgic EQ feel, excited to see the progression. Hey, thanks, and always be sure to say hi to Panth for us. We're big fans. Monda said, I'm already nostalgic for Eminem. It's wild. You know, I'm not just saying this when I say that it really makes me feel pretty awesome when you guys say that. Because the thing is, like, I get it. And I feel like, you know, it's reassuring because everybody being naked today aside, or maybe because of... it's reassuring because it makes us feel like we're probably heading in the right direction. Which for a team our size and the nature of our team, and you know, like being part-timers and doing this without any funding and without any sort of like security, and given where we started when it was, you know, like when it was just the three of us kicking things off, it's kind of wild. It's pretty wild. But so on one hand, it's like, it's pretty wild because it's like, fuck, this is working. On the other hand, we thought it would work, right? Like, I think I've said before, I've worked on enough games, been in enough development environments that is like, it really didn't make sense that it couldn't work. And then the more, you know, the more I got to know Nick and Ollie, and the more that we continue to add really quality people to the team, the more I was like, this just feels like making a game. We don't have the ability for people to be full time, but like people still get so much work done. Like so much shit gets done, guys. You don't understand. Week over week, because I kind of judge it by like, you know, I think in terms of weeks. And then, you know, a couple week period similar to a 2-week sprint or a 3-week sprint, and then a month or whatever. And there's some stuff it's like, oh man, it takes a while, you know, but it takes a while in game development in general. But a lot of the weeks you just kind of look at the progress, or when we're pulling together the monthly updates as a kind of a wrap up. Like to me, I feel like we move as fast as other teams I've been on, right? That are full time. So it's just everybody's kind of just steady chopping at it, right? So if you need any audio sound effects, guys, I get bored on the weekends. Sonelson, hit up Robert in Discord. If you're not in our Discord, be sure to get in our Discord, because Robert does all the music, does all the audio at the moment. But there's a lot of audio stuff that he could probably, you know, offload, and it'd be awesome. So be sure to be in our Discord. If you don't know which Robert in Discord, you can either ask or ping me or Nick or something, and we can direct you to the right guy. I think it happens when you're working with a team more in passion and less of a paycheck. Yeah, I mean, I've seen some teams that are just straight up checked out. And, you know, in their defense, for good reason. I got on a team once and nobody had gotten a pay raise in like 3 years. Not even a cost of living allowance pay raise, like nobody. Some guys had gone like 5 years without a pay raise. They weren't amped on the project. I was the 13th producer in 9 years on the project. And yeah, so it was one of those situations where there were some people that really loved the game, but they just didn't have the energy. right? Like they just were kind of like, you know, the passion wasn't there. They loved the game, but they just didn't have the passion for the work. They didn't like the company anymore. They didn't feel well treated and all that shit. So that's pretty cool. You know, like to not be in a situation like that. But I've also been on other teams where I was surprised because, again, like the last team I was on in Sweden, they're actually really productive for as much. They didn't crunch. It was very much a 9 to 5 job. We had fika, which is like a Swedish coffee break where you stop and like, I think we had fika like every day, you know. But on Fridays, the company would have like company sponsored fika where they'd bring in like good cakes and pastries and stuff. It's like an hour and a half of just chilling, talking to people, eating some pastries, drinking coffee, and, you know, bonding. They had a lot of vacation days. People would take 2 months off in the summer, and we still got stuff done, right? So, but they were really passionate. They really loved the game. Noob Scanner, thank you for the follow. You saw some pants in my inventory? Yeah, I'm wearing pants. They're just, there's a bug right now. They're not. We got a naked bug. So you can see my beard. Hey, Florine. What about those cloth ones? Oh, okay. I got some... I'm wearing my Jordans now. Got my boxer briefs on. Mig said, I was surprised at a lot of how much Ollie does that's not Eminem. He does some really cool stuff. Yeah, he's got, you know, he's got 2 other businesses that he's responsible for. Also 2 children. We've got a number of people on the team that have children. Right, so they've got jobs, they've got children, they've got, you know, all of that stuff going on. They're still chopping away at this, so... But what we don't have is anybody on the team that's just doing it for a paycheck. That one's pretty easy to prove out. Whoa. Maybe they're playing the long game? Oh, good. That shows initiative. I'm skilling up on Nick and not even hitting him. I'm low on drink. Uh-oh. Got some rawhide scraps. I'm gonna put these other pants back on. Tattered. AC5. AC3. Yeah. I'm definitely gonna go back to being bare ass. Let me finish selling this stuff and then buy some drink. May do a little bit of arbitrage really quick to get up some more money. Tattered cloth. Tattered rawhide. Why is that not on my head? What a noob. Oh, because it doesn't look as cool. That's right. I was like, I have both because I want to be able to RP. Is it true that the arm slot is being phased out basically? Yes. That is currently what's going on. That is currently the plan. So replace all this cloth with rawhide. That's what happened. What's the reasoning behind that exactly? Just bandwidth? No, it's more in how we were designing some of the outfits. Dulon said it's what makes us unique in a sea of games that include arm slots. Wait. Is that equipped? Okay, shit. Thank you for asking. I like that. We added that. How do stats work in this game? Gop the Conqueror asked, never played EverQuest, so I'm not familiar with that. What do you mean? Like, how does each individual stat work, or conceptually, how do stats work? Conceptually, the stats are used by our various formulas for different actions, with combat being probably the most visible action. So, different stats modify different formulas for different outcomes. There you go. Listen to Migs. Migs will take care of this. Can't have that first cloth hat looking so good. People are never going to upgrade. We'll figure it out. I think it'll be one of those things where we may wind up having some, because this looks like a hood, right? So I think there's a world in which we've got a cloth hood and a cloth cap, and a leather hood, or a leather hat and a cloth hat. And that's just me talking. Will there ever be a situation where a mud command requires a stat check? So we can do skill checks. I don't think... No, we don't have stat check yet, but it might be something that we could do. Like, do you have enough strength to pull this? I think that's actually that's a good point, Fielder. It wouldn't be bad for us to have that. Are there going to be any stats that we never know about how they work, but we argue about them in forum posts for years to come? I hope so. Not being a smartass, I do think there is value in a bit of obfuscation and not being 100% like direct on what everything does specifically. Personally speaking, I think there's value in there because it's always fun to see those like theory crafted discussions. How much impact do we expect the crafting system to have on high-end or in-game tier items, weapons, armor? Will they be just as viable as boss loot? The thought that we had was that we would include boss loot as part of a... Sorry, I'm gonna run all the way back in here because, well, let me go to the shifty. Buy some food and drink. The idea was we'd integrate them, right? So if you're getting things like dragon scales or whatever, it's not just a quest item. It can also, those can be used in trade skills. Defiant said, I noticed the mud commands on a quest. You have to be very precise location for the trigger. Is there any plan to make warm, cold hints for mud command situations? Maybe depending on the specific interaction, like if we feel it needs it. Some of it may just be that we need to be a little bit better with the size, a little more forgiving with the volume, and then just make sure that we're clear with where you need to be, right? So like if you're talking about the rogue quest, I could probably expand the grappling hook areas a bit, and if you're still having trouble figuring out where to stand, to pry the gem out of the statues, and maybe that needs to be a little bit bigger. So those are tweaks that we can just make. We do need better feedback on like failure of things. You know, just a tiny little bit of feedback of, hey, you're not in the right spot, or no, that's not valid. Well, yeah, while I'm here, let me buy some shit to, if I can, to resell. Since I'm going to be running back into town anyway. Cool. Since I went all the way in there to sell stuff, to buy food and drink, and then I didn't do it. What is the item placeholder at the bottom of that vendor UI above the text? Oh, I didn't look. Sorry, I didn't see this in time. Unchained said, what do I have to do for you guys to get rid of the Twitch line of spells from the Necro class completely? I heard that Nick will you can send him money directly. That's the scariest cook I've ever seen. Oh, cook. Are you here for the meat? I am in the wrong kitchen. I am going now. Good day, sir. Oh, and with my hat, it kind of looks like he's wearing a tie as well. Wouldn't that be a combo? He's just wearing a Shadow Knight helm, a nice tie, nothing else. What? That's how I cook? Scaffstone, me too, but only on Valentine's Day. Wearing a Shadow Knight helmet and a tie, and that's it? Listen. You're my fourth wife. I gotta watch out. Jasmine proved herself as qualified. He's walking I'm walking a fine line right now. It's if you left click the item, the vendor may give you more information about where to sell it. No, Jasmine did a great job. We went, we played Airsoft for the first time over the weekend. Jasmine and I went about an hour and a half from here to a nice big Airsoft field area. It had a nice woods and stuff like that. And played, and she did good. She did good. How serious do Germans take Airsoft? As serious as Germans take anything. There was quite a range of outfits there. I played in my usual. I mean, I've got like a closet full of the same black T-shirt and jeans. So I threw some boots on, pair of gloves, mask for the the standard wire mesh mouth masks. They let us borrow some. We rented the glasses and a couple of AKs, and I just went out in T-shirt and jeans. There were people out there in like full Super SEAL Team 6 Delta Force ninja outfits, running comms and everything, and we're gonna run comms and stuff in the future. Jasmine got some nice. We just got her a pair of Swordens because she shoots IPSC as well. So it's nice for her to be able to hear instructions and stuff. She just had some passive ear protection prior to that, and we've already tried out our comms and stuff with it. But it was awesome. Like, loved the variety of outfits people had, the gear, the fact that some people were super geared up, like variety of weapons. We just went out there, and Jasmine on the way was just like, so like, what are we gonna do? Like, what do we do? What's the plan? And I was just like, speed, surprise, violence of action. That's all we need. Just go fast. Come at them. They're not gonna expect it. Like, blast at them and just go hard and fucking light them up. And dude, Samuelson says, nice, I work at Sig Sauer, so I get to see some cool things and access to interesting classes competitions if I want. Did we just become best friends? Are we connected on Discord? You work where? Can you smuggle some stuff in a box and get it through customs? I did not say that out loud for anybody that's actually watching this. Multi-glamorous life, dude. I've got a beautiful multicam black plate carrier. Oh, it's so nice. But we went in low key. We didn't want to like come in and then like just get blasted and have a bunch of gear on. So I came in, dude. It was so much fun. I felt like I was 15 again. It was more fun than, doing that shit in the army, because you get to just like go harder. And like there's all these dudes, young guys. I'm like twice their age and stuff. There are a few graybeards there, but I get in. We put on our glasses, mask. Everything else is just the way it is. Got the AK, and which I love the sights on AKs anyways. And so we go in, and they're like, start of the round, go. And I'm just sprinting. I'm right behind everybody else. I don't know the field, so once they start like settling in, I'm like, okay, cool. Looking for pockets, watching the angles and stuff like that. And dude, I was blasting and diving, just blasting and sliding in behind shit. And I came out of that first match just covered in dust and dirt and shit, with the biggest smile on my face, and the people that run the place, because they're like, oh, first time here, we'll walk you through or whatever. And it's like, cool. I came out, it's such a big smile that when they saw me, they started smiling. They're like, did you have fun? I was like, oh my god, I love this shit. And the guy, one of the guys that was in there with us, who is like one of the locals who was showing us around, he was just like, yeah man, it's crazy, like your first time playing and you're bum rushing people harder than the dudes that are like, everybody's got like full on gear and they're like hiding behind a tree and they don't want to move. I'm like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? You're gonna get shit, you're gonna get shot, and you're gonna fucking go to timeout, for respawn, wait for two other guys to show up, tap back in, and just blast forward, man. I had so much fun. They'd have a different opinion if you came out smiling, covered in blood. Believe it or not, I was actually bleeding a fair bit by the by the end of the first round, because because I didn't have sleeves on or anything. Like I said, I was legit like diving and low crawling through shit and stuff. So, oh, Jasmine, we're going forward, and we haven't had time to actually working as we've had no small unit training or anything. We're gonna work on it as a couple. So I'm getting up there, and Jasmine I know is somewhere to the right in kind of the edge of the play field on this side, and I go, Jasmine, I'm about to move forward to these tires. I'm gonna bound twice. I'm gonna hit the tires, stop. I'm gonna move again to the next set of tires. Can you cover me? And she goes, yes. And I said, okay, good. Can you see the building I'm heading towards? And she goes, no. And I said, okay, can you see the path that I'm on? No. Can you see anything? No. I'm like, well then move. Damn it. She was just in the bushes. She's like, I'm safe. That's not the point. The point is not to be safe. But, and so I'm like, I'm over there laughing. I'm like, what is this shit? Like, and then at some point I hear like rustle. And then she's like, afterwards she's like, some guy went crawling by me, had a rifle in one hand and a pistol in another. On his belly, and he was just like worming his way through. There's nothing over there. Anyways, that's enough Airsoft talk. I don't want to bore you guys with Airsoft, but I'm in love with Airsoft. I love it so much. It's so much fun. Getting tagged is not as bad as paintball, and so it's awesome. I love the manual of arms. Oh, it is a great workout. My legs are still sore. Dude, I went as hard as I could go for the 4 hours that we were there, because we had an hour and a half drive back. I went, and more people started like packing up and leaving, and we were down with, I think, yeah, we wound up being some of the last people there. Yeah, so many squats. It's so much up and down, staying kind of in the squat position because you're like peaking. I was in pain after the first round, but I was like, I'm powering through this shit. Being a tall guy does not help. You're correct. But being a squirrely ass tall guy does help. You can get some weird angles. Anyways, oh man, it's so much fun. So you guys are, let's say, Unchained said, found out about assault gun yesterday. Blast flies from to smithereens. I've seen it. Instagram keeps showing it to me. We've been talking about getting one for the garden. Though oddly, even flies. I don't like to kill a fly, even. But I kind of want a salt gun. Yeah, I don't like putting salt on slugs, though. That's cruel. I like just moving them and throwing them over the screen. Yeah, I mean, they ate everything, but I don't want to be cruel to them. There's where Sonelson was saying that he works at SIG, so we're going to be best friends. Let's see. Look for the SIG logo. Perfect. That'll be easy enough. What else? 80 style shoot. Always fire from the hip. I was a 60 gunner for a bit when I was in the army. So I like that Rambo hip fire position. It was like me doing paintball. I had so much fun. Yeah, but this is just, I think it's so much cooler with, it's so rad. So I just ordered a gas blowback rifle. I know a lot of people are like, oh no, blah, 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 it's a pain in the ass. All this shit, I don't care. I want my weapon to cycle. I don't want it to just go beep, 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 beep. Let's see. Were we using German or English? Jasmine and I were typically using English. I was yelling some English at people until I realized they weren't going to listen anyways. I tried some German, but yeah. Don't fall into gear buying frenzy. It can get expensive if you get too much. The only gear that we're buying is gear that we'd have anyways. Like I said, rather than get like fake, you know, rather than get like a comm setup that's silly. Like I said, Jasmine already, she needed active comms for IPSC. I want to have active comms just because I want to have them for when I'm at the range with her, or, you know, just in general, because we're weird preppers. And so then we've got our cheap little walkies along with our, you know, the usual sort of Balfang kind of setup or whatever. Can't use Balfangs in like the bigger stuff around here. We've got like a Stalker LARP event. It's a 2-day, they like, you can look it up. It's OP Chernobyl in, what is the name of the field here? Helden? Helden? Airsoft Helden. So they've got like a 3,000 person airsoft festival slash big match that happens in the spring, and then October is when they have the LARP, but they also run. They've got the Stalker LARP, but they do like a number of just like weekend ones there. So we're gonna do that. But like, you know, I've already got to play carry-on plates and shit like that. So I like to stay pretty streamlined, so I'm not going to buy a bunch of gear, but we do want to have like weapons that we like, so that we can get them dialed in and go have fun. Because the only thing that was kind of a bummer, like I had a ton of fun, but my rifle was a bit squirrely. So there are a lot of times where I'm like, I really could have had some nice shots in there, but that's fine, man. Simon said they always give the big guys the pig. I was pretty scrawny, but I really wanted it really, really bad. So I actually, as soon as I got there, I was like, I want to have a 60. My dad has this epic picture of him with a 60 when he was on the DMZ, that I had ever since I was a kid. And I was like, I want to have that gun that Dad had. I want the 60. And so, yeah, I volunteered to be an AG. I spent my time running around with that heavy ass tripod, extra barrel, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of. That's the thing that people never think about when they're thinking about like army shit. Running behind the gunner with 800 or 1,000 rounds in shitty army bandoliers. Oh my god. Yeah, we've got a naked problem right now, Jasmine. A lot of stuff's naked. I wouldn't say it's a problem, but we have a situation. We're all grouper. It's so wild seeing all the icons in place. Let me go. One gun of Rambo, please. Exactly. We got a topless bard. This game has got everything. Had to carry an M60 and NTC running up hills. Yeah, I had to carry an M16 and JRTC splashing through swamp. Oof. Actually, no. There are only a couple of times that I used the 60 in JRTC because we were playing bad guys. We mostly had AKs. Always felt safe with your Saul in Bosnia. When were you in? Early 90s? Or did you go later? I'm probably saying your name wrong now that I look at it wrong, because it's like So Nelson, but Sonelson just made sense to me. Says tried to join the army, scored an 88 on ASVAB, but failed a hearing test in my left ear. Yeah, I was worried because I had such ridiculous speakers in my car, but made it through hearing. But my hearing after being in the army is not necessarily perfect. 97. Interesting. I got out in 97, but I was one of the guys in my unit had just come back from like Macedonia or whatever when I was in. I got in 94. I was only in 94 to 90, 97. 3 years, 17 weeks. Let's get to these guys stuff food, or do I need to go to the quartermaster? What is that, a Twisted Sister pin on your uniform? My dad said he was, he said one of the guys in his unit back in the 80s was actually Dee Snider's brother. Which is a random ass enough thing to say that I don't think he made it up. I did not get the quote initially, John. I did not realize that it was from the, Yeah, the water really is off, Nick. What does he want to do with his life? I want to rock. Want to. Oh man, I was blessed to have a dad that was into such great music. Between my mom and dad, it covered the full spectrum. My dad was into metal and rock and southern rock. My mom was into Motown and new wave and disco. Man, we had so many records. It was just crate after crate after crate of records. And my parents loved to party. My dad, especially when we lived in Germany the second time, he was in a motorcycle club down where we lived in Germany. And there was a party every weekend. And my job is like from about as far back as I can remember. I would say, I don't know, at least like 8 years old. My job was, as soon as I was old enough to put the needle on the record without skipping it or scratching it, I was in charge of making sure there was always music playing. It was awesome. Making sure there was music playing, and a lot of times, like in my family, you know, I learned early when I was whenever we were in Florida, and we go over to Nana and Pop-Pop's house, because it'd be NASCAR on Sunday, and then Pop-Pop would start making his spaghetti for the afternoon and evening. It would cook all day. Learning how to mix drinks, right? I lived in one of those households where the kid's job was to retrieve beers, mix drinks, make sure the music's playing. Truly blessed. You were a DJ and a waiter at the same time? Yep. Far back. We were just watching some show on Netflix that kept using that song. Like a month or two ago, John. DJ Sean and bartends on the side. I've always had an interest in DJing. I went through a period where I went through my electronic music period. But and I been known to drink too much, so definitely some habits got instilled there. So how many months has it been since we've had a drink? 10 months. No shit. Well, that flew by. So 10 months since we've had a drink. Oh, 10 months exactly. Interesting. Electronic music has the best drugs. Man, I worked security at a club in DC when I was in the army that had one of the biggest raves on the East Coast, man. And it was the Capitol Ballroom. Dude, watching people they were just trashed on. It was, I moved from Alabama to DC, and that was my first experience around like that much drugs. Is that how you say? That many, and also that volume of. It was wild. Wolf made me straight edge for a little while. Noth said, I drink almost every night. It can happen, man. I tell you what, like, everybody should do what they want to do. I'm not here to preach, like, abstinence or whatever, but I will say, we decided we were going to do a 1-year challenge of not drinking. And once that got rolling, it was pretty easy. And once I got rolling, though, what I felt was my energy levels and my mood got so much better. I'd say like general mood and energy levels ridiculously good. And now one of the biggest challenges I have, because we'll come up in is it July or August? Oh, 2 months, yeah. All right. So yeah. August. Duh. German logic. Well, it's 2 months. I just told you 10. Yes, this is true. So what I noticed is now whenever I think about alcohol, I'm like, because I'm like, hey, if we went camping or something, or we went somewhere interesting, we want to get a glass of wine or something. But now my brain automatically thinks, but what would I be doing with that time that I will inevitably lose if I have those drinks? Like, my brain just keeps thinking there's better shit to do with that time. And one of the other things that it hit me when it hits me a lot lately, because I was thinking about like, oh my god, I had so much fun playing Airsoft over the weekend. I want to play more Airsoft, right? And it's like, oh, and then you got to buy shit and budget for it, and what aren't we doing, and blah blah. And then this summer, like, years move by so fast that you kind of think in terms of like, how many times will I do a thing each year? But now I'm at the point where I'm 49, so I'll be 50 in March. That's not too far off. I'll be 60 in 10 years. And years fly by fast. We've lived here for 4 years. Right? So that's double the time. So in just double the time that since I've lived in Germany, I'll be 60. Like, that shit's moving way too fucking fast. So now it really is like, do I want to lose an evening or 2 evenings that I could pop in and do some other shit? Oh, cool. Naked people will be fixed next time we zone in. I don't, man. Like, I really want to like just have that time as much as possible. That idea that I can go to the garden and get some shit done during the day, come home and still have an entire evening, a whole night. I rather be on caffeine, honestly, just so I get more time. Stop leveling IRL so fast. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, no, OD, I'm almost at max level. It's a weird thought, right? Like, if this, if we launch in Eminem is around as long as EverQuest, for example, 25 years. All right. So say it launches when I'm, 51? It goes at early access at 51, 25 years, 76. If I'm lucky, I'll see it. Yeah, Jasmine wants me to live to be like 200, and I appreciate that. Feldane says, been sober since July 2012, best decision I ever made. Yeah, I can imagine. And, you know, Feldane, has it been hard? Like, you know, I've been to rehab before for, I was on a shitload of prescription pills during the DC Universe Online development cycle. And looking back, I think my biggest problem was I really needed a break, which a month in rehab definitely did. But like I've not had problems, you know. I think for me rehab was more about getting some perspective. I don't have like trouble quitting things. I mean, I've been divorced 3 times, so that's obvious. But yeah, I haven't needed like you know, the constant sort of reminders or whatever, like, oh man, I gotta force myself to not drink today or whatever. That's, for me, I've been very fortunate that's not the case. I know other people are not that fortunate. Justin said, I'm 42, feel like I'm 62. I know, man. I hear you, buddy. Classic Cool said, been sober since 33, 36 now. Greatest decision of my life. Yep. Absolutely. Any Wiregrass in DC? I was in that part of the East Coast like 8 years ago. I remember a freeway here and there. Don't know. Classical says, hey Sean, I caught you live finally. I hope you're doing well. Quick question, do you plan to include pickpocket, thievery, disarm mechanics? If so, how in depth are you looking? That may be one of those areas where we go more in depth over time, just based on wanting to add more richness to certain systems. But for the time being, I think we'll probably put in something simple, but we'll need to like discuss that and work on it. All right, I'm gonna try to solo this guy. He's got a weapon, so that's might be tough. Up there's some roamers, so I wonder if it'd be easier to let's pull on. Yeah, sorry I don't have a better answer for you, classical, but it's one of those things that's it's interesting, but I don't want to overcommit the team with big ideas that we haven't agreed on yet. Unchained said one of the side effects is I look and feel younger. Yeah, the energy thing, I can definitely get the feel younger part. Oh, I should probably be in one of my stands. But I asked you if it'd been difficult, and I think I missed your answer. Oh, there it is. I just knew a lot of bad company, but after I quit, the party invite stopped, and it was easy, to be honest. A lot of peace. Nice. I could absolutely see that. Our thing is, like, we don't have any problems hanging out with people when they're drinking and stuff. Like, still going to events and, like, yeah. So that, because there's tons and tons of alcohol-free beer here. And the cool thing is, because it's alcohol free, I drink it slow as shit. Because like when I drink to get smashed. I'm not, you know. So so I wound up being able to nurse it. Got my beer prop in my hand longer. But yeah, we went to 2 weddings 2 weekends in a row, back-to-back weekend weddings, and just drank a ton of coffee so that we could stay awake. And before one of them even started, we walked down to the kiosk and grabbed a Red Bull. Oh, what was it? Yeah, Monster and a Red Bull, and then just tons of coffee because everybody's drunk and stayed up till like 2, 3 in the morning. We're like, oh my gosh. Let's see. Liz Biscuits, what's going on? That I'm 52 in a couple weeks. My brain says I'm 16. My body says 72. I can't. Used to be a gymnast. If I tried that crap now, I'd be dead. Land on my head and break my neck. I've been pretty fortunate with my health and my my physical condition. Like, I was very curious to see how I'd be performing over the weekend when we went airsofting, and I honestly, like, I surprised myself. I was real happy with my stamina and stuff. Because with the surgeries and shit, like, I haven't really been as active as normal since like November, December, I'd say. Probably even longer. Because I broke my hand 10 months ago, right? That was part of the whole, like, yeah, maybe we should chill out with this shit. And then, yeah, I finally got off my ass and went for a run last week. It was just like, nah, okay, cool. This is as I remember it. It's just running. Then said, yeah, same thing. I honestly have no problem being around friends that drink. It's like a light switch just flipped. I have no problem. But I do understand it's definitely not the same for a lot of folks. Yeah, and, you know, and a lot of folks also are like, when we told our garden neighbors, like, hey, yeah, we're not going to drink for a year, they were immediately like, what? Because all we do is do some garden work and then drink beer up there. But it was rad. Like, within days, they were like, hey, we got a bunch of alcohol-free beer we bought. And then next thing you know, one of the guys was like, yep, I'm gonna stop drinking as well. I'll feel better. I was like, oh, right on, buddy. What's Red Bull made out of anyways? Sugar, a little bit of taurine, which really doesn't do anything. Probably some like niacin and other stuff pumped in there. I think that's what gives you kind of the niacin flush, depending on who you are. A lot of caffeine, sugar, water, fruit flavorings. Aroma, fruit aroma. 100% bull juice. Just, it's got aroma. These guys have poison? Probably. Clobber them. You really like running on grass with barefoot shoes? I had some barefoot shoes for a while. And I was running the way, kind of that toe run. And I yanked the shit out of my Achilles one time while running, and it took me a while to recover from it. And I think I was afraid ever since. So I went back to the... I've got those like classic old man beat up, holy, dilapidated running shoes that Jasmine wants me to get rid of. I've been using them for like 8-10 years. So they're kind of like barefoot shoes because they definitely don't give me any support. This last Friday servers came up 6 p.m. my time. Having started work at 7 a.m. I did not go to bed until 1 a.m. Sunday. Felt it hard. I feel it too when I don't get my sleep. I definitely got to get my sleep. Let's see. What did I miss? John said, something I've always found odd is how people react when I tell them I don't drink, never have. Usually along the lines of, oh, I don't drink much, just weekends and stuff. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, there's that little bit of shame. You know, people are like, oh, well, you know, which, you know, that's not good. You don't need that. People don't need to feel bad about what they do. Just own up to it. Would it be against Airsoft rules to pretend someone shot your finger off in order to get the drop on them? Ah! Oh man, did the server drop? What is that black box top right? Oh shit. That's thank you for noticing. That was where we had the server counts up. Unchained says, reminded me of the first concert I went to, Hootie and the Blowfish, was brought into Camp Eagle. We had barrels of near beer and sure acted like it was real. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned liking German beer. I read that 10% of the beer sold in Germany now is non-alcoholic. Like every single German brand has multiple non-alcoholic beers, which is really handy. And the quality is getting really good. Tastes really nice. Abomination. I don't know what to tell you. It tastes good. John says I pretty much only wear barefoot shoes unless I need steel toes for some reason. Steel-toed sandals. Oh, you guys. I got shot on the tip of my index finger while paintballing once. Holy shit, did that hurt. I can imagine. Jasmine got shot in the finger as well over the weekend. In her pinky finger. And also her butt. Which, it's weird. We can't figure out how she possibly could have been shot in the butt since she was laying very flat at the time. She got upset when I said that maybe her butt was sticking up, despite the fact that she was laying flat. For whatever reason, she took that as... I was like, Jasmine, people are paying good money for extra butt these days. She got Popeye, Band of Brothers. We haven't watched Band of Brothers this year. Did we watch Band of Brothers last year? It's just one of those series that you can just watch over and over and over again. But Jasmine's really been, she's been on this like Airsoft kick. So she's been like pulling out movies to watch. So we watched recently, we watched Black Hawk Down. We just watched Heat the other day. Like, so we're watching stuff again. It's got some good gunplay in it. Band of Brothers. Good point. Learning tactics. Dude, I'm such a nerd. I'd heard about it, but I'd never checked out the Marine mount manual. We did, you know, my unit was, when I was in the Army, we did a lot of mount training. Was it military operations and urbanized terrain? I always just said urban terrain, but I think the manual says urbanized. But I ordered the Marine mount manual, and that just came in. That's actually looks really awesome. Just started reading the beginning of it. So yeah, no, serious. We're gonna learn some tactics in this family. Right, let's see what happens. Band of Brothers is goated. Yeah, it's just such a good series. I mean, it's just so good. I've seen it at this point. I don't know, at least 8, 10 times all the way through, and would gladly start watching again tomorrow. We may actually start that over the weekend, believe it or not. Whereas like I don't know if I've seen the Pacific like all the way through yet. Ogproof says, have you ever placed a... I'm not going to be able to pronounce it correct. Is it Piton? Piton? Radbeard, thank you for the follow. I've read it. I don't think I've ever said it out loud. I've repelled, but I've never placed the spikes or whatever. Need to watch Masters of Air still? Is that like is it an Air Force style Band of Brothers? Generation Kill is a good point. I didn't think there was... It's a good series. Like there's so many great scenes and really good actors in it, but I can't remember. Was there much action in Generation Kill, or was it just the realistic perspective of Army, hurry up and wait? Were they Army? Or were they Marines? I forget. Ogproof, why do you ask? Just watch a few YouTube videos of professional military versus regular but good airsoft players. Regular players have no chance. I think it's just a different mindset. And especially when you've got professional military like going against what they know are regular airsoft players, right? Because I mean, it's just that it's that sort of that violence of action, that boom, push. Especially given what are the repercussions in that situation, right? Like, you get to respawn. Haven't seen 1917 yet on Netflix, but I hear it's pretty good. Thumbs up on that? Okay. Just curious about mountain. No, not mountain training. Ogproof Mount here. M-O-U-T. Mount. It's a, what is it, acronym for military operations in urbanized terrain. We'd go play Army in these little mock cities that we had. It's not a full city, it was a handful of city blocks, but like nice high-rise buildings and sewers and parking garages, and some of the training that we did when I was stationed in DC, you know, we'd fly in, you get the fast rope onto buildings and stuff, and then we'd be there for a bit. There was often a lot of actors. They would have, they would bring actors in, and then they would also have some people being OPFOR from other units. So we'd practice riot control. We did a lot of support for the military police unit that was attached to our unit. And so essentially, you know, we'd be doing patrollings and stuff like that. They would have simulated drive-by shootings, right? So there'd be like a protest. There'd be people hanging out on a stoop, playing cards, drinking, whatever. So you got a bunch of bodies, you know, like people in the street, being a pain in the ass and asking questions and just being civilians. But then you'd have cars driving. People would pop up with like weapons and start shooting. That would create a scene. You'd have the MPs react to that. We'd be supporting the MPs. Yeah, so since part of our mission was the you know, the defense of the military district of Washington, we're, you know, a semi QRF. I didn't want to be redundant and say force, but yeah, we'd basically be there. You know, part of that unit's mission is to be able to air assault anywhere within the DC military district of Washington, like DC area, from our parade fields pretty quickly. So that was the training that I'm talking about, the mount training, not mountain. Mountain would have been really cool though. So the series came out in January about the 8th Air Force, same producers. I thought I'd seen some ads for that, so I'll have to check that out in 1917 as well. Have I ever played Squad? No, but I think there are a couple like milsim gamers that I was following a fair bit from when I was playing Tarkov. And I think that's one of the ones that I've seen one of those guys play. Like they play some fairly realistic shit. Like I'm sure there are Airsoft dudes out there, young Airsoft guys that can probably speak to all of the correct terminology and tactics and TTP shit that I couldn't. Just because they play these super realistic games. Hell Let Loose, I have played. My dear friend Hashpipe got me into that. So Arma I'd recognize because several of us on the EQ team used to play Operation Flashpoint before it was Arma. And we even back in the day during EverQuest days, we pitched a game that was based off of Operation Flashpoint. Sorry, I'm reading next thing. Operation Flashpoint mod. Because we had just seen the movie Battle Royale, and also I had read the book Battle Royale, which is it's a fun book as well. And we started talking while playing some Operation Flashpoint like mods. It's probably like CTF or one of the just scripted co-op games or whatever. And they had zone-based artillery. We're like, dude, it would be really fun if we just made a Battle Royale mod based off of the movie, because we were all passing around the DVD or whatever at the time. And put that into a little pitch, but it wasn't very interesting it didn't qualify as an MMO and didn't really have many takers. We're getting close to the P word. One of these days. Asmodai, you can never tell. It's one of those things where I'll joke about it every once in a while, but I never hold anything against the folks that said no to certain ideas back in the day. So much of it's timing. Oh shit, Stance, thank you. Thanks, John. That's Esan, what's going on? I meant to say hi to you earlier. I was thinking about you, and I was hoping you'd be on. We were just talking about it, actually, but I've been thinking about you ever since my manual came in. Because whenever I think of Marines now, I think of you. My 3-35 manual came in. The Marine Corps Military Operations and Urbanized Terrain Manual. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I just assumed yes. Classic Cool said that's so cool. I'm actually from the DMV and recently moved to Florida. Always into military stuff, just never enlisted. I'd never planned to, and then when I was in, I'll be honest, I reflect back on it, I just did not make, I didn't make, I did not have the, and I don't know that I don't know that I've ever gained the emotional intelligence needed to do really, really well in the army. But the truth of it was like, one, the bulk of it was on me. Like I took it very, very seriously, and I did well at what I was doing in the army. Like I was one of those guys that could get by with a lot of shit because I was good at what I did, which made up for the fact that I was a shithead in every other way. But I would never change anything about my life because I love where I'm at now. But if I could have 2 lives and I could go back and tell myself at any stage of my life, if I could go back and like somehow help me get my shit together at a young age, I really would have liked, how do I say it? I would go back and actually, I think about this a ton. It's why I'm interested in the stuff I'm in. I would go back and do more with my military career because it's one of the few areas I can look back on where it would be an opportunity to truly test myself and then test myself amongst peers that I would know are the best at what they do in a specific type of environment and set of challenges. So like I spend 0 time thinking about, hey, remember when you bought like all those Bitcoin, you could have bought even more. What if you'd kept them and blah, 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 blah. None of that shit. Like none of the go back and buy Microsoft stock. Like none of that stuff ever comes to mind. Like, oh, I wish I could do this thing that would just ensure that I had more cash now. But the idea of going back and like seeing if I could go through, you know, because I went into the army to be a ranger. You know, I had the classic ranger contract, right? Which guaranteed I went to airborne school. So I went to airborne school, and airborne school is like nothing. And then instead of going to a ranger unit and then trying to go through RIP, I got recruited to go to the old guard in DC. And when I checked with my dad, who was still in, and he checked with his commander, they said that's the best route to basically go anywhere else if you stay in. And I think, you know, again, I didn't have the emotional intelligence. I don't know if I do even today. But if I had, I think the other thing that hit me was I was pretty unimpressed with my leadership in the army, and it already felt too political, and it already felt like it was tough having to legally follow the orders of somebody that I knew was an absolute dipshit. Like, this person is just a fucking idiot. And so that was very difficult for me. And so, you know, as I worked through it, I was like, yeah, when I'm done here, I want to go maybe start my own business or do something else, right? And that's where oh shit, Curious Jack. I don't think this is gonna... Let's see what happens. Get this guy down. Clobber him. He's blue, so he may be good. That one is zoned, but I also don't want that ad. Oh, yeah, this is nothing. Anyway, so that's the thing. But there are a couple guys that came to my unit as specialists. They had been paramedics. They were best friends. They'd been paramedics before they got into the army. They joined, went to the old guard. Same sort of, they got the pitch from the recruiter, like, hey, if you join the old guard, you can go wherever you want. They came in immediately, like within the first year. I think they had to be there for 1 year. And these guys were fit. They were always constantly like training, staying on top of stuff, working out. Their mission was to go to SF together. And they went to Special Forces selection, got selected, and were gone. Boom. Just, it was like, and those guys, I wish I had made better friends with them. I wish I had let them be more of an influence to me than some of the people I was hanging out with. And I wish, I wish that would have maybe helped me get my shit together and allowed me to go check that out. But I don't really, really wish it, because then none of the shit would have happened that happened, and I wouldn't be here today. But if there's a parallel me that I could be aware of, then that would be a fun one. But I wish I was a little bit taller. Wish I was a baller. Wish I had a girl with something I would call her. Oh man. Check out the 3P discussion. All right, hold on one second. But yeah, but then what I do is, instead of regretting that, I go, okay, I'm only 49. Cool. If I feel like I could have gone to selection, right? If I felt like, because the goal would be like, all right, you go to selection, spend your time in ODA, if you're lucky, and then try to get picked up for the unit, right? And so that would be the thing. So now today, what I do is, I honestly, I think like, why do I find that appealing? All right, so what can I do in my day-to-day today to work towards a similar goal, even if that goal is no longer attainable, right? And so that's why I do the goofy shit that I do, like learn about squad tactics, try to get fit. Now we're playing Airsoft. It's just because it's something I just think is interesting. Let me see. Art discussion. Oh, that's pretty cool. What about seeing like this? Yeah, I could see that. It's got more of a... Okay. Oh, let me... give you a little thumbs up. Sounds like a plan. Goblin, sounds like a plan. And the thing that you got going on there is awesome. Just leveling a little bit, Wu-Tang, and reminiscing, bullshitting, the usual stuff. Odie said, oh, first of all, Unchained said, always regret not going to SF selection. Yeah, it's one of those weird things, man. It's like it's such a weird feeling to reflect on those things. But I do think it's a good motivator to like do more in my day-to-day now. And potentially help some young people, like young dudes or whatever. Because I'm going to say something super controversial, and I don't want us to veer off into politics or social shit or any of that stuff. And I know I do the preface and I do the thing where I put us in the danger zone, but thanks for always being good and not going too far with it. I think young dudes, young men, boys, they need more positive influence these days. And, I look back on, I'm like, well, what would I have done differently? So, what could I have done differently so I'm not sitting back going, man, I wish I would have done this, right? And now, is that something I can help other young dudes with? So, I mean, as much as I can, right? Like, who the fuck am I to tell anybody anything? But still, I've had a decent run of it, so I feel like I could share something. Odie 1776 said, are you familiar with David Goggins? Yep. Jasmine and I are definitely aware of Goggins. He was in Steel's Finished Ranger School, I believe. We freaking love his audiobook. Yeah, got it. He's got 2 now, right? Get your ass kicked in gear for getting back in exercise. We always talk to each other in Goggins' voice. Goggins and Jocko. Woke up today, can't feel my legs. Good. I pee a little every time I squat down to try to pick something up because my legs hurt so bad. Good. 10 hours said I worked with Goggins a little bit. No big deal. Nice. What did you do? What kind of work were you doing? He seems like he'd be a super decent guy in real life. Right on, Goblin. SEAL teams? Were you in the SEAL teams, Tannhauser? That is awesome. How long were you in for? Lawrence of Arabia looks a little shorter than I remember. Yeah. Oh, my pants are back too. Nice. 9 years, 2006 to 2015. Oh, you're a youngin'. I believe. I'm assuming. That's awesome though. One of the kids that came to my skate park when we had the skate park, one of the kids that you know, he had a rough like upbringing. I think it was just him and his mom. No cash. He was one of those kids that would come and not have cash for a board, so we'd always make sure he was kind of hooked up. If we ever had any sort of like, a lot of times there'd be the like, I noticed with Airsoft, it's the same with skateboarding. And so when the guy was like sort of talking to me and he was like, yeah, you're out here, you know, like going hard and you don't have any of the gear and these guys all look like super special forces and stuff. I was like, yeah, but don't, you know, that's not a bad thing. Those, the guys that want to buy every bit of gear is what the reason why the industry exists, right? Like in skateboarding, it's the kids that are the posers that, you know, buy a new board every month, whether they need it or not, and buy everything new that comes out every season. They ensure that there's enough money in the industry for the industry to survive. And so with this guy, he didn't have, this kid didn't have any cash. He lived just outside of town, but my parents also lived just outside of town at the time. And so we'd make sure he got rides to and from the skate park and make, like he was one of those kids. We had a few of them. You know, when you have a skate park in Dothan, Alabama, especially in the, you know, the mid 90s, late 90s, like we wound up being a really cheap, we wound up being $5 a day daycare. We really screwed ourselves with the pricing and shit. And so we'd have kids waiting on us every day, especially on the weekends. Like if we opened up at like 8 in the morning, there'd be kids there at 7. Parents would dump them off, you know, maybe with money for food and a drink, maybe. And then they, many times, you know, there were a couple handfuls of kids, their parents wouldn't pick them up. Like we would pile them into our vehicles and drive them home at the end of the day, right? Because we love these kids, you know, they're little shitheads, they're skateboarders, but their parents just weren't there for them. And it was kind of tragic. It was a bit sad, so that's why we took care of them. So anyways, one of the kids, really lanky, like tall, awkward, shoes always fucked up, right? Like always had to, you know, shoe goo the holes in his shoes, or he'd be like one of the kids that duct taped the hole and then have like stuff sticking to the bottom of his shoe, right? He got older, didn't realize it, like after the park shut down and stuff, like ran into him years later through a mutual friend, and he had become a SEAL. It's like, what? Really? Yeah. I don't, you know, I forget. I talked to him for a bit. Unfortunately, I forget like the actual story of how it happened. But he wound up joining the Navy and becoming a SEAL. He was a SEAL for a bit. I'm like, all right, cool. It's an absolutely different person than that kid. In some ways, you know, many ways good. You know, fit. Dude's a Chad now. Like, really handsome guy now, super fit. But definitely not the same dude anymore. So there's some trade-offs there. Ken Howard just said some of the most interesting people I've ever met is when I was in the teams. I think that's one of the things that I find, you know, again, thinking about it and going, hey, if we'd gone that other way, what could have happened? It's just there's so many really interesting, good people, right? Like, and I feel like I would have related a lot better to the guys that were going, like the personalities that are more driven towards like SF, or in your case, you know, SEAL teams and stuff like that. I think I would have clicked a lot more with those, because there's a lot of people that you know, absolutely work well in the team environment and nail the esprit de corps and all that stuff, but are very strong individuals. And I think there's something about that, like, strength of those men as individuals that's really appealing. Hey, Dargon. Yeah. My guy's ready for war. Yeah, the unit I was in wound up having a pretty low retention rate, because what would wind up happening is if you spend 3 years in the old guard, the people that were interested in doing additional government work, it was very easy to meet people because we're in DC, right? So we have a lot of we're not super far removed, or there's a lot of opportunity to cross paths with NSA, CIA, different OGAs and stuff like that, right? Like, and there's a lot of private security work. So a lot of people were getting out, you know, and doing private security in DC, and we all had, you know, various clearances and stuff because of what we, you know, what we were doing there, and some of the little side projects and stuff that we could do there. And so we had great clearances. We're really fit, even though, you know, I think it's a lot of people are like, it's not super real army. The old guard still has enough prestige associated with it that we are able to you know, get opportunities to go talk to people and qualify for certain things. You have different people come in and, you know, talk to folks and present options and stuff. So, but a lot of people went that route and got out, or just got out like I did. I actually had Area 51 clearance. 52 is where the good stuff is. Area 52 is where you want to go. Area 43. Are we using a custom engine? Nope, we're using Unity, but we do Goblin, because there's no such thing, you should never bring it up again. You know, naturally we do a fair bit of modification and you know, making it our own. Burger Love. But I mean, that's no different than any team. Have I ever played Songs of Six? Only thing that helps me pass time until play test. Managed to get the whole weekend off to play a test for a funeral. I haven't. Let me look it up. Oh, it looks interesting. I will leave that up. Thanks, Wu-Tang. Tannhauser, can I ask, has the have you found the need for a suitable replacement, and have you found a suitable replacement for sort of the camaraderie and sense of purpose that you had when you were in there? Yay, people have clothes on again. Look at them go. Thanks, Teddy Rumble. See, the last part again was way. I asked, have you found a need for, and if so, have you found a suitable replacement for the sort of camaraderie and sense of purpose that you had when you were in? Nude Harbor. Oh man, he's got an apron. That's badass. That's looking tight. Lots of folks have aprons now. That's awesome, Zukin. There's a server error now that I wasn't seeing before, I don't believe. I'm gonna post it in Bug Channel. Maybe you guys are already aware of it though. Yeah, I can go back. Tannhauser said, yeah, I think it's the biggest thing people leave the team struggle with when they get out. It's a completely irreplaceable environment. Personally, I had to do something that was more intense to get some sense of challenge in my life, and that's cool. Great question though. My buddy who is in my platoon and I still chat and we talk about this exact subject. Yeah, it's I noticed it's a common theme because I watch a lot of podcasts. You would think being in game development, I'd spend all my time like watching game development podcasts and shit, but unfortunately, I don't. I am not that good of a game developer, so I spend a lot of my time watching stuff that's honestly in this area. I think Sean Ryan, if you've watched that, I don't know how you feel about it, but does some great interviews, and there are a number of other people that have some really great podcasts that have different folks on. So Yeah, and I noticed that theme, but it's an interesting one because, like I said, I was only in for one contract, right? 3 years. Um, but I think it's also partially because my, like, from the time I was born until I got out of the army, I was always around the army. Um, and that's fair, Goblin. I do squeeze in a number of okay, so that's fair. I do like Mad Season, Asmin, and some other stuff. That's fair. Belivar and some other stuff. But primarily, I would say I watch a lot of and read a lot of stuff on this topic, or yeah. So anyway, but just when I look back, I would say there's something about the camaraderie and like unique sense of purpose just from the tiny bit of time that I was in that I can't shake. And I didn't do anything super crazy. Like pretty normal shit. I would say the oddest part of my service, which I was not expecting when I went in. So the old guard is the, oh man, I can't remember. I don't know if I can still do the tagline, but it was the United States Official Ceremonial Unit and Escort to the President, I think is the tagline, right? But it's an infantry unit, so we still would pretend to be infantry dudes. And like I said, most of it was mount stuff, like military operations, urban terrain, for those of you who heard mountain before. But so the bulk of our time was ceremonies, and the bulk of our ceremonies were funerals, right? Like the occasional presidential ceremony here and there, every month or two, some ceremony with the president, and a little bragging right, and general retirements, and like we do this big thing, this like pageant stuff on the ellipse each year, where you're doing like these ceremonies out for the public in front of the I think it's the White House out on the ellipse, or parades and shit like that, right? So it's cool because I could call my mom, check out, whatever, CNN or C-SPAN, I'm on TV. I'm actually, for a brief second, I didn't realize until somebody from Sony had sent me a message one day, and was like a Facebook message with a circle, and it was like, hey, is this you? And so there's there's a documentary on Netflix with the old guard, and I'm in it for like all of 2 seconds or whatever, and he had me circled. I was like, holy shit. And so we were just doing some fucking ceremony. But the thing that got me, that I did not realize was going to be intense, I did more than several hundred funerals. I think I tried to calculate it at some point. But easily more than 300 funerals. Somewhere between, I don't know, if I had to guess, like 500 funerals, right? Because we would do all the funerals in Arlington National Cemetery. We did rotations where, for 1 month you'd be on funeral rotation, or X number of weeks, then you'd be on off-site funeral rotation. So you'd be in Arlington, you'd be doing basically all the funerals in Arlington. At some level, I was guns, right? So when we're doing bigger ceremonies, I was on the firing squad. But then we would do off-sites for a rotation, which was like a couple weeks or a month. And then so you're going to all the local, regional, military cemeteries and doing the full thing, right? Because we have small teams there, so we come out, stack our guns, get the coffin out of the hearse, fold the flag, go back, boom, do the volleys, all of that, right? So, and we would do, when we're doing offsites, well, even in Arlington, but not as often in Arlington, offsites, we would do up to 7 funerals in a day. In every single funeral, you've got the family, right? Like these people who, you know, we're doing final honors for, and they all have families. And the families are like, you know, a lot of them older folks, right? But still, you know, it's always, it's rough when your loved ones pass. And so it was one of those things that I didn't realize was going to kind of like be rough. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And before I get too much further, Unchained, I saw what you said. Yeah, yeah, it is. That has to be an experience when you're kind of looking around and be like, yeah, these folks don't get it. And it happens on all different topics and all different levels, right? But especially on that one. But yeah, so 00 said, Robot Nice, I was stationed at the Army Ceremonial Guard from 99 to 02 to drill team. Nice. Yeah, it was really cool because we'd see, you know, every branch of service has, you know, had their honor guard and stuff there. So it was really cool, like seeing how, you know, different people operated, different uniforms, that type of stuff. So, okay. So distracted. Never got used to walking over people's graves and all the team. Yeah. Yeah. Walking over people's graves is a weird one. I would have these weird like dreams because we would sleep on the bus between ceremonies sometimes. Because we were like, you know, we young guys, so we'd be out partying and shit all night, and then we'd have to work the next day. And there'd be, yeah. Or there's nothing like carrying a casket. And there's this one, I forget the name of the cemetery. There's this one, it's kind of in the hood in DC. And they had relatively fresh graves. And you're carrying a casket and you step on one and you go like, you know, 5-6 inches from your knee deep in your nice ceremonial blues in like just mud because it's been raining. Nothing like carrying a casket in the snow on an offsite and like just kind of like starting to slide down. Congressional Cemetery or the one out in the hood around Northeast? July, I don't remember, but I would maybe the one in Northeast. Because I think we were joking at the time that when we did the, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked because Northeast at the time, this was mid-late 90s, so I worked security at a club in Southeast, and that was like, it was a shooting gallery there. I mean, we even had on M Street, saw 2 different shootings on M Street, right? Like basically Georgetown. One outside, well, both of them are outside of a GI bar on M Street that like wasn't that far from whatever that bridge was right there, Key Bridge or whatever. One was a drive-by in traffic. They did a drive-by in traffic. It was brilliant. The other one was at the bar that we were going at, like 4 people ahead of us. Some guy shot some other guy in the stomach. And so like DC, we joked at that cemetery. We were like, when every time that we do, you know, the volley, we were curious if someone's going to shoot back from the neighborhood. Be More Gaming said my grandparents are buried there in Arlington. Arlington's beautiful, man. It is. Arlington in the winter, we'd go running in the mornings, and we'd go running through Arlington, and when it's all snow or fog, and there's just, people don't realize how big Arlington National Cemetery is. It's so fucking huge, and it's just this rolling sea of headstones. And so when you go running through there and the snow's like absorbed all the sound, and you know, you're just like been there, and we're, you know, probably not like doing any sort of Jody calls or whatever, just running, and it's perfectly quiet, and there's like a little bit of fog, and then headstones everywhere. It's just pretty magical. Jaguars said, yeah, that's rough. My dad was a chaplain in his later years and did a lot of notifications. It was always tough seeing him get home after this. Yeah, this will sound stupid, I know, but it took me a while after I got out, to even want to like talk about it. There's just something about, I had never been to a funeral before I got in, and there's just something about like, we knew we were doing our job well if the family kind of lost their shit during the, you know, when Taps was played and everything else. Like, if we felt like if we did our job really well, then it should, you know, like, be a pretty emotional thing. And then they would get emotional. I can't tell you the number of times that we were, you know, because we've got a little bit of distance from the family when, you know, especially in offsites, but as, you know, as the people on the actual like gun team doing the volleys, when we're working bigger funerals and we've got the big boys carrying the casket and folding the flag, and we're doing volleys and all of that, we may have additional elements like basically standing there, but even in the offsites when we're doing it all, yeah, we're just shooting blanks. Still probably should have worn hearing protection more often, but yeah, like the number of times that we're doing funerals and all of us were just like, every single one of us crying. You get done and like sort of mop up a little bit and get back on the bus or go stand somewhere because you got another one happening, or you march back into the barracks or whatever, and it's just like, phew, tough. So yeah, it's a weird one. Because I was, you know, never in danger, never did any, you know, high speed, hardcore shit. But like that was definitely not. I didn't expect that one. Live in DC now. Things have gotten better since the 90s, but still war zone in certain areas. Still a beautiful city. It was such a weird place, man, because I was so excited to live in DC as a fan of punk rock and like reading Rollins books and shit as a kid. I was so amped to like be able to actually go to the 930 club, you know, like you know, see this stuff. Wait, not handed. Sorry. So, you know, see the shit that I'd read about and just always heard about, and was amped to be in DC. And there's a lot of cool stuff in DC, but DC was also super sketchy at the time. You could take one wrong turn and find yourself in like legitimate danger. Bad Brains, Discord Records, Fugazi. My ex, her friends, her dad owned, so this chick I was married to very briefly when I was around, when I was in DC, her best friends, or one of her friends, not her best friend, that girl's dad owned the Key Theater. I don't know if that's still around, but it was like a kind of alternative, you know, indie artsy theater. And so we went to the premiere of the movie Kids in that theater. And it was just my roommate, my ex and I, her friends, and then there's some people, a couple handfuls of people sitting down in the front. We were kind of in the middle. And we were like, man, who are these nerds? We were looking at these people up in front of us that were sitting there. And it's like, who are these nerds? And blah, 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 blah. Then come to find out, like when they left, it was a few of the people from the movie along with the Fugazi guys. And I was like, I can't believe I love this band so much and we're sitting here making fun of them. I didn't recognize any of them. I was too busy being a dumbass. Smart ass. I was such a smart ass. If my roommate from the time is out there tonight, I know you were out there the other day, then you have to hit me up. I'm fairly certain I'm not telling that story wrong. 00 said, I loved Arlington, especially when we did all Navy wreathlayings at the tomb. It was the only drill team guys. It was only drill team guys that got to do it, and we would be on the top part of the tomb where the army guy walks out. Amazing experience. Did you guys have the same problem? We had metal tapped on the bottom of our shoes, like our shoes were, you know, that wood bottom, but had the metal tap. In Arlington, is made of granite or whatever it is, and when you see those guys up there, like the army guys that march out, it's so slippery. It's so damn slippery, man. It is one of the sketchiest. And there's so much weird shit that happens that sometimes you see it on TV and sometimes you don't. But like we had, you know, we march out and then we both turn either right face or left face to face the audience, and then the president's down there, and like, you know, all the muckety mucks, all the people, whatever, foreign dignitaries or whatever, down there at the bottom of the stairs. And we turned one time, and when we turned, somebody lost their grip on their rifle. And, you know, we got the wooden rifles, everything's like perfectly done. Every ceremony, we've got everything, like bottom of our shoes blacked out again. Everything's repainted. Everything's perfect. So this beautiful wooden ceremonial stock with weapon, bayonet, everything. And it's quiet, so it's like boom, right face, left face, boom. Dude drops his weapon, and you just hear it go clack, 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 and it's just bouncing down the stairs, sliding down the stairs. And all you can think is, you know, we were never allowed to move anything in our face. We were never allowed to move, right? Like, we always had to be perfectly still, but we were really good at, like, ventriloquists. So we're always mumbling shit, like when people pass out in the ceremony or do something shit, like, stupid like that. It'd be like, as soon as that rifle went down, we're like, oh, he's fucked. Oh, oh, someone's about to get destroyed. Because we'd get done after the ceremony and we'd go back, and everything we do is being monitored at all times and graded. And so before every ceremony, I don't know if it was like this for you guys, but before every ceremony, we'd have somebody, they would pick people randomly from formations, and they would basically inspect everything. They'd measure everything on your uniform to a 32nd of an inch. They would make sure everything was perfectly polished, everything was like set up correctly. So like our uniforms, we would take all the buttons, everything off every night. We had press shops in the bottom of the barracks where we would press the uniforms. So press them out, steam out any pin marks, like you would pin the sleeves. Every crease would be perfectly pinned to the press it. Then you'd take the pins out, you'd take a little steamer, and then you'd rub any pin marks out. Everything was perfect. You would polish every button, polish every metal. You would reassemble the uniform, like they're all of the buttons and everything are attached with safety pins. Measured perfectly, everything's perfect, right? Brand new, fresh pair of white gloves every time, like all that shit. So if you get picked, you don't want to lose points, because if you're fucked up, your unit would lose points. And then when somebody would do something wrong, like we'd get back at the end of a ceremony, and first sergeant would be standing back there, and he'd be like, you know, second man, first row, who is that? And then that person be like, me, first sergeant. Just start doing push-ups. And like people doing push-ups in their ceremonial units, like third man, fifth row, or third man, fourth row. Why were your lips moving? Right? Like it just anything they would spot, anything that we were doing that was not what we're supposed to be doing. Movements, looking around, talking. If a grader caught it, man, we were losing points, right? And it could lead to some rough weekends. Or when you're shooting, right? Like when you're doing ceremonies for different units or different organizations. So like I think like the Air Force or whatever, they like pop 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 pop. But for the Army, every time you shoot, like all seven guns need to make one sound. It can't be like pow pow. It's got to be pow, pow, pow. And you fuck that up, they're gonna be like, second rifleman, you cost us points, right? So a lot of practice, a lot of attempt at perfection, and yeah. 00 said, yeah, we'd get super fucked if someone messed up a ceremony. I think it's pretty standard for all the services because of being in public. Had to be serious. Yeah, no joke. Also said, dude, it seems like a Marine guy would flake every time we do a mall ceremony in a tomb. Marines would literally always have a guy behind the furnace and drag dudes away. Yep, we would always have between 1 and 3 guys standing behind the formation, full uniform, with no bayonet in their scabbard. Because when people pass out, and in the summer, you would get a fair number of it. Somebody passes out, you know, we'd have one of our sergeants, you know, typically like a platoon sergeant or level dude, walking around, and somebody would pass out. They would drag them off the field, and somebody would step in their place and take their weapon. My first roommate, really cool guy, really nice guy. He passed out on 2 different ceremonies, and you pass out twice, you get kicked out of the unit. You wind up getting sent somewhere. I was there from 94 to 97. Did I ever train with UK forces? Only in airborne school. There are some Germans. There was some Germans and some Brits when I was in airborne school. Might have crossed paths in some other training that we were doing, but I think that's the only one that I could say for sure. Ours was 3. You pass out 3 times, you're gone. Yeah, and it was like pass out or do anything super egregious. It would be a strike. You got 2. You wound up going to the 82nd, where I think he wound up being a lot happier. Wu-Tang also asked, the green goal and castle and distance able to travel to yet? No, you can't get up there yet. Infrared said we basically had small horseshoes attached to our heels, and when it was wet, like yep, yeah, it was like a little horseshoe. The loot up there is going to be fat, yes, for sure. Cypher, yeah, we're excited. So the playtest will be the weekend after this coming weekend. So next weekend if you skip this weekend. Hey, July, so 930 Club is still around. An amazing video. They also open Atlantis, which is OG 930. Is that the OG 930 though? The tiny one, like from the 80s? Because that was so when I was there, I got a chance to go to that 930 Club to see a bunch of shows, and then they moved it to the bigger venue, which is now considered the old 930, but it's not the old 930. I'm sorry, Liz. Disappointed you guys always match my schedule so well so far. Why is that disappointing? You should take it as a sign of love. LUV. Oh, we had a dude hit by lightning during a ceremony. That was pretty awesome. Only because he's fine. Or he was fine. Did he lose points? No, he gained points. I think he had a couple of like get out of jail free cards after that. It was such a badass story. So we're standing there, we're waiting for the president to come by. We're doing a cordon, so we're all like standing along the road to the tomb. And it's raining. So we're out there, our beautiful uniforms are getting destroyed. It's raining, we're pissed because it's raining on us. And we know like all that's gonna happen is he's gonna zoom by in his limo, and the Secret Service SUVs are gonna go by and blah blah blah. They're just gonna blast by, gonna salute, go back, boom, and then we're done. And we're watching lightning, it's just popping shit in the cemetery. No exaggeration, no hyperbole, not making it up. The lightning is hitting stuff in Arlington National Cemetery, and we're standing along the side of the fucking road, holding lightning rods, standing in water that's running along, because it's running along the road, right? We're just standing there. Big ass metal, big chain sort of fence right behind us in the grass, and we're just, and it's one of those things where you just have like this dark sort of fatalistic humor in situations like that, where it's just like there's a reason why we smoke so much, right? Like it was just like, whatever, this is outlandishly bullshit, can't believe we're doing this. And so it's just like it's popping around us. Boom, 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 boom. And we hear down the road from us, we hear ba-boom, and we hear a rifle bouncing across the ground. And we're just like, it's like the big eye emoji. It's just like, oh shit. And naturally we're muttering a bit loud because there's nobody out there to really hear us or ding us. It's not like the public's out there. We're like, what the fuck? And then it passes up the line. It's like, someone just got hit. Someone just got hit, right? Like, and it just rolls up the line, and it's like, Gresham got hit. We're like, what? And we're still out there, though, like, still keeping it together. And then they call it pretty quick after that. They're like, all right, basically, order arms, blah, 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 right? Like, boom. Weapons up, turn, and we're marching back, like, fast-paced. Boom, we get there, and there's already an ambulance, and, like, it was just, like, quick response. So we get back, and everybody's talking about it, and then he comes in. Like, he didn't even have to stay in the hospital, like, very long at all. Comes in, and, no, nope. So it hit the road, traveled across the road, hit him, and he fell backwards over the chain, and no burns, nothing. Yeah, they just gave him Motrin. Came in, and it was just wild because he was super Texas, right? And he's just like wild as shit anyway. Had a big Texas flag in his wall locker and stuff, and he's just like, we're like joking because we're like, did it give him brain damage? How would you tell? That kind of jokes, right? Like, young GIs. Anyways, he came in, and he was like, the only thing was, he was like, I don't remember anything that happened today. He just didn't remember anything that happened. He was like, I remember getting, you know, the practice ceremony earlier today, or no, we didn't even practice for that. He's like, basically, you remembered earlier today. He thinks he remembered getting his uniform together, and that was it. It just gave him a hard reboot. Yep, super lucky. Was that 2 year for us? No, it was 3 years. My dad broke his leg in 72, full cast to the hip, and his platoon I asked him one day, why aren't you a PT displaying? Sounds about right. That's, my dad has some crazy stories as well. My dad got in 75. Will this game have spellcasters that spam spells at range, like a mage? Yeah. It we've already got spellcasters in there. Sending you something to Slack for later, Sean, related to getting hit by lightning. It's funny, I was just looking at lightning patterns on people's bodies before. John, will do, don't let me forget. Thanks, 00. They're one of our OG critters. Yeah, so we could stay for 2 years. I think if you became an NCO while you're there, you could stay longer, but yeah, you wound up cycling out to other units from there. Yeah, I had a sergeant that came in after I'd been there for about a year and a half. And he came from a regular line unit. He had to get a waiver to get in. I think he was only like 5'11", and he was a bit too macho. And you know, it was when NCOs and stuff would come into our unit. I think sometimes they would lean on the fact that they had other experience to not really do as well in our unit, right? And so we were very snooty about like being perfectionists. And dude was not a perfectionist, so we busted his balls a fair bit, which was, you know, par for the course. We'd see how far we could push it without getting in trouble. Hey 00, check out the lighting when you're actually around them. Kind of fun. Yeah, so anyways, this guy could not stand me, and he was going through a pretty messy divorce, and so he wound up not deploying with the rest of my company when they deployed for something. And then I was there because I just had surgery. I had surgery on my nether regions. I'll put it like that. It probably sounds worse than it was. But I had corrective surgery for a hydrocele, and so I was not supposed to be standing. And this dude despised me so much the day after surgery, and it took me months to actually get the surgery lined up and finally get the surgery at Walter Reed. And so he called me in to work CQ, like basically work the desk for 24 hours the day after my surgery. And so I wound up showing up. He had me at, you know, parade rest in his office, and like, you know, my stitches are bleeding. I was like, all right, I'll do it, whatever. Like, I'm not gonna, what can I do? I'm gonna follow orders. And so I was like, well, then I need to go to sick call. And I went down to sick call because of this. And he's like, as soon as you're done with sick call, you come right back here and sit on the desk. I was like, all right. So I get down there, and when I'm at sick call, the captain that arranged my surgery, because it took him a lot of, like, we had to do a lot of work and jump through some hoops and stuff to get surgery set up. The captain that had actually set up the surgery is like, hey, what's going on, Private Lord? Like, or maybe I was specialist at the time. And is like, when's your surgery? And I go, oh, it was yesterday, sir. And he goes, well, what are you doing here? I was like, Sergeant Barnes told me I needed to come in and work CQ. My surgery wasn't justification for it, not being here. Dude, he blew up. He was so pissed. So he got one of the dudes at the clinic basically to drive me home right there on the spot. He was like, I'll have you driven home right now, and I'll go down personally and talk to Sergeant Barnes. And he went down and lit him up. Lit him up. It was great. It was wonderful. I wasn't there for it, but I was there for the after effects, because after he lit him up, I guess he called my company commander, and yeah, it was a mess. It was a mess. Oh, army stories. All right, it's 11:12. We've got a solid 3 hours of discussion about the military and Airsoft in tonight. I hope Sergeant Barnes had a very nice conversation with the captain. Oh, I'm sure he did. I'm sure it was well. Thank you everybody for sticking around and walking down memory lane with us. Monsters and memories. Memories about the military. Memories about DC. I will be back on Friday, and we'll see if anybody's around to play on Friday. This should be close to, if not the build, but by Friday we'll have the build that we're going to be play testing weekend after next. So hopefully some folks will be around, and we can some team folks will be around. Sorry guys, and we can play a little bit. And that'll keep me a little bit more on track with regards to subject matter. I'm glad you're here, Isan. Curly Goblin, see you. Odie, you're very welcome. Thanks for being here. See you, John, Lich, Unchained, Wu-Tang. See you, Meeks, Chili Sauce. Feldane. I have a good day and a half till I see you again, Liz Biscuits. MMO Pug, Be More Gaming. My new absolute best friend in the world. Donaldson, 88. See you, Shramwar. Shram. No, I don't want to swap those letters either. Shamroar is better. Dulan. Sonal-san, we'll take one of those SIGs that don't blow up. I don't know if you've had to deal with that. Kegborn, see you. See you, Thulan. And just like that, he was so not a 320. Gotcha. Okay, I was about to say that's gonna go one of two ways. Remember to check out Songs of Six. It's literally the only other tab up right now on this page. So I'll definitely take a look, Wu-Tang. Thanks for the recommendation. Always love it when you guys show new stuff or show me new stuff. Cool. All right. I think that's probably it for tonight. I'll see you guys on Friday, maybe, hopefully, if you'll show up, and then we'll focus on playing some, or if some, I don't know, for whatever reason we don't do that, then I'll just do some work. There's a lot to do. See you guys. See you then.